Welcome to this Frequency Matters podcast. I'm Pat Hindle, and I'm here with my co-host Eric Higham. And today we're talking with Tiago Rodrigues, CEO of the WBA, which is the Wireless Broadband Alliance. Welcome, Tiago.
Hi, Patrick, Eric. Thank you for the invitation and glad to be here today with you guys and discuss more about WPA and what is happening on the telecoms.
Excellent. So I thought we'd get your take on various subjects, related to Wi-Fi and 5G, 6G, as there's a lot going on in that area. Just coming back from Mobile World Congress, we can maybe have some inputs from what you saw there too. So let's just start off with the Wireless Broadband Alliance. Can you tell us a little bit about your activities and what the alliance does?
Yeah, my 2 minute speech on the Alliance. The Wireless Broadband Alliance is a traditional global non-profit association. So, we have a group of members from all over the world, from Australia to Japan, China, Europe, US, Africa, and so on. We run a series of technical programs where the members, in fact, they define the programs and they vote, and then they do contributions. Our vision is to improve the experience of Wi-Fi services within the wide wireless space that includes IoT, cellular, and any other wireless technology. We are based in US. We have been around since 2003, and we have a very diverse membership. And we have been doing a lot of work on the Wi-Fi space, as you mentioned, Patrick.
So you mentioned that you've got a very diverse membership. Who are some of your major members and what benefits do they receive as members?
Yeah, so WBI, due to its scope of work, we have, first of all, a quite number of major operators. So let's call Telefonicas, BTs, AT&Ts, SoftBank, among others. Then we have a quite vast group of technology players, including chipset manufacturers like, I don't know, Qualcomm or Intel, device manufacturers like Samsung, Apple, and infrastructure manufacturers like Nokia, Cisco, and others. And more recently, over the last, let's say, 2 to 3 years, we started to see more and more enterprise companies joining the alliance. So examples of Home Depot, Zara, I don't know, Ford joining the alliance and contributing on the technical programs. The main benefits for all of them. So first of all is to work together as a community on some specific programs. For example, on the convergence of Wi-Fi and cellular. How can we have a better use of Wi-Fi to complement a cellular network? Instead of working in silos or isolated, what we do is we aggregate all the right stakeholders. They define either guidelines, standards, technical specifications, architectures. Then everyone follows those documents and they implement it on their real life networks.
So everyone kind of looks forward to the big Wi-Fi revisions and next generation. So can you tell us about Wi-Fi 7, what improvements and what's the timing of that? And maybe even a little bit about Wi-Fi 8, because I think they're starting to work on that.
Yes, Wi-Fi 8 is starting. The discussions are starting, but still a long way to go. Just a note on that to be brief. I think it's super important for the Wi-Fi 8 that now and over the next, let's say, 6 to 12 months, the industry agree and the different stakeholders we agree exactly on the capabilities that we want to see on Wi-Fi 8. Because right now there is a laundry list of capabilities that people is pitching, but we need some level of agreement between the different stakeholders. Regarding Wi-Fi 7, that is much more interesting. It's available today. We can buy, all of us, we can buy both infrastructure equipment for our houses, our offices, the typical Wi-Fi antennas, APs are available, devices are available. The adoption, it's growing quite well. So all the numbers that we got from the industry and from our partners from the Wi-Fi Alliance is that the curve of adoption of Wi-Fi 7, it's higher than Wi-Fi 6, what is super positive. One of the major benefits of Wi-Fi 7, in my view, it's the use of the 6 gigahertz band. So we have more spectrum available for Wi-Fi. Some countries, they have been allocating the entire 6 gigahertz band to unlicensed use. For example, Canada or US have been examples of that. While other geographies like Europe, we only allocated half of the band to unlicensed spectrum and to be used by new Wi-Fi standards, including Wi-Fi 7. Another big improvement on the Wi-Fi 7, it's what is called multi-link operation. So when we have, it's called MLO as the the abbreviature of multi-link operation. So as we have the traditional 2.4 gigahertz, we have the 5 gigahertz, and now we have the 6 gigahertz. So these new equipments that implemented MLO, they can use and create channels on all that spectrum, and they can orchestrate the upload and download of data packages depending on the availability of the spectrum. That, as you can imagine, is changing all the time on any pharmacy where devices are coming up and going down and new applications up and down. So having that orchestration is super positive and makes Wi-Fi much more reliable and even open up the door for prioritization of traffic and even quality of service to be run on a Wi-Fi 7 infrastructure. But very positive about it.
Well, now they have three frequency bands. Is that like going to be enough for the future, or will we have to expand again later on? It's getting to be like a mobile phone where there's like multi-band mini bands that the radio has to transmit and receive over.
Yeah, that's a very interesting discussion. One of the areas that we have been working on the alliance is that we believe that in the future we'll have more scenarios of share spectrum. We don't know what the future of spectrum management will bring, but even on the 6 gigahertz that, for example, in US was open up for Wi-Fi or for unlicensed use, that 6 gigahertz spectrum is already utilized by some services. So, for example, point-to-point links. And what we need to develop and build is mechanisms that allow that ability for the coexistence of multiple services. So taking out Wi-Fi of the equation, I believe that the future will give us the opportunity to share the same spectrum between different technologies. We just need to align within the industry how to do that share spectrum. So mechanisms that can help us to understand, okay, if I'm going to deploy this technology, I need to guarantee that I'm not going to interfere with anything that is already utilizing it.
So we're seeing the term open roaming used a lot these days. Can you tell us what that is and what do you expect for deployments? What are the expectations for 2025 and 2026?
Yeah, thank you, Eric. So first of all, Openroaming is one of the key programs of the Alliance. Our main goal is to improve the way that we connect to Wi-Fi, in particular in public locations or guest networks. So imagine we go to a coffee shop or we go to to a stadium. Many times, either we need to share a password between all the people that is there, or we need to guess or identify, okay, which is the SSID of this network, which is the password. Sometimes we need to register. So open roaming mainly wants to give a fully automatic experience on Wi-Fi. So if you get the right credential on your phone, you should be able to arrive to, like I said, to a restaurant or to a stadium. And as soon as you are under the coverage of the Wi-Fi, your device will attach and you are connected. Somehow, if we wanted to put it in a simplistic way, is just to copy the experience that we have on cellular, just copy for the Wi-Fi. So any of us, if we go to another country, we just switch on our phones and it's going to work because there is a roaming interconnection between the different mobile operators. So here is the same concept. We are doing this automatic roaming between Wi-Fi networks. You just need to give your device the proper credential, and then you can connect. What is super complicated is that in the Wi-Fi, we have millions and millions of networks. what creates that the open roaming, apart from being a technical standard, it's a roaming federation as well. So I always like to do a comparison with the Visa card. So I have my Visa card for my bank. By the way, I'm based in Portugal. I can go anywhere in the world and my Visa card is going to work, even if I've never been there. And that happens because there is an interconnection between all the organizations that they work with Visa, and Visa guarantees somehow that interoperability. So with open roaming is the same principle. So every member of the federation, they have their own unique identifiers. They have been exposed to the federation. So your ID, for example, you can have a Wi-Fi ID from the city of Tokyo. You can go to London or you can go to, I don't know, Bay Area, San Jose, and you can connect to the Wi-Fi using your credentials from Tokyo or vice versa.
Great. And another term we're hearing about is automatic frequency coordination. Can you tell us about that in the 6 gigahertz band? What's going on in that area?
Patrick, a lot is happening on that front. So as I mentioned before, so the Wi-Fi got some additional spectrum on the 6 gigahertz band. I mentioned a few examples between US, Canada, that they open up the entire 6 gigahertz band. So they allocated 1200 megahertz of spectrum to unlicensed use, while some other geographies only allocated 500 or even 600. And even we have countries that have not allocated anything yet. The AFC, so the automatic frequency coordination. So it's a mechanism that was defined by the US regulator, FCC, to guarantee that the use of standard power on the 6 gigahertz by the Wi-Fi antennas are not going to create any interferences to any services that are already using these bands. And like I said before, a typical example is I have a point-to-point link between two buildings. I'm using the 6 gigahertz bands to interconnect two sites. The worst thing that I can see is somehow someone popping up a Wi-Fi network and just interfere with my point-to-point link that I have, and suddenly I cannot communicate between these two sites. So AFC is that mechanism that guarantees that interferences will not come, is based on the principle that each Wi-Fi antenna, they need to query a database where they may cause interferences. If there is a risk of interferences, the Wi-Fi antenna automatically will reduce its power, will select channels to minimize or to avoid any type of interferences. And if there is no interferences, yeah, the AP will work at full power without any limitations. So we are very enthusiastic about it. By the way, the Wireless Broadband Alliance, we got the FCC certification to be a AFC operator for US. We are working with some of our members on guaranteeing that our platform it's up and running and does the job that it should do. But I foreseen a very positive future for the use of standard power in the 6 gigahertz band. We already started to see some deployments, mainly on the enterprise sector, but where I expect, let's say in the next 12 to 18 months, is on the residential area. All the new APs using Wi-Fi 7, they will have standard power, and they will improve drastically the coverage and the capacity on all the homes in the US that adopt Wi-Fi 7.
So it's only database driven. It doesn't actually sense the power and react that way.
It's basically a database driven, but of course there is some algorithms just to optimize the location and the power levels. And of course, as you can imagine, is super critical that the FCC database is super accurate and updated as much as
Yeah.
possible, yeah, to avoid any risks.
Yeah, so clearly you've got a lot of work activities going on. And you mentioned at the very beginning of the podcast Convergence. What are you seeing in the way of convergence priorities for 2025? including private 5G and Wi-Fi?
Yeah, I on the convergence, by the way, has been one of the key programs as well of the Wireless Broadband Alliance. We have been advocating that Wi-Fi and cellular, they should be the best friends. Wi-Fi 7, 5G, they should work in tandem as much as possible. I can share with you that US is a good example where all the mobile carriers today they are utilizing Wi-Fi in specific areas to complement their offer. Couple examples are, for example, all major MNOs in US, they do Wi-Fi calling. So they provide voice services over Wi-Fi whenever there is no cellular. You can receive your calls and make calls over Wi-Fi. Another good example is another member of us called Boingo Wireless. They do a ton of offload at the major US airports and military bases for the MNOs. So that's another example where the MNOs in US, they can, based on their network strategy, network capacity, network coverage, they can offload more or less, depending on their interests. Two things that I want to share on top of that. As as you already hear, the 5G business case for the mobile carriers has been very challenging. We all know revenues are going down, or average revenues are going down. Profitability is not at the same level as 5 years ago or 10 years ago. The investments required for 5G are gigantic. So that they have put a lot of pressure on the MNOs, including some of our members. So using Wi-Fi, let's call it a cheaper technology to do very specific coverage, special for indoor use, can be one option to optimize some of the investments, and we see many people doing it. Then just want to leave one final message on the 6G. So in the WBI, we just released 1 month ago, we released what we call the 6G vision paper. So it's a document wrote by our members. And if I want to summarize it, basically they are claiming three things. So we need an architecture for 6G that is more flexible and allows the integration of cellular or 3GPP technologies and non-3GPP. So it can be Wi-Fi, can be a LoRaWAN or any other wireless technology that I can integrate. Today, that integration is possible, but it's very costly. So that is a big challenge. Another big request is, okay, guys, if we go for 6G, we really need to identify what are the use cases and the scenarios where we can monetize our investments and get the right ROI back to those operators. So that's another big element. And the third one is really to defend the innovation and the investments of the mobile operators. So they are keen to do it if the right business case is there. So they will continue the investment. So if you guys are looking to 6G and you like to know more about our work, just go to our website, wballiance.com, and you can download the paper and know more about what the operators in WBI are working on.
Yeah, we saw that. That's a great thing to take a look at. So we'll definitely be following any new developments with you. So maybe to wrap up, what are some of the main challenges you're going to address over the next few years? Is it mostly just 6G or is there other things?
We want to continue this big journey on the open roaming. By the way, I didn't mention, but we have a version of open roaming identity for private cellular. So we believe that using the same identity for Wi-Fi and private cellular networks will be super beneficial for the IT managers. So instead of running identities for their sensors, for their devices, from two databases, two different systems, if they can have one that can run for both, will be awesome. So we have been doing some work on that front. So open roaming, top priority, make the Wi-Fi experience completely secure, completely automatic is a big one. The other one is all Wi-Fi 7, Wi-Fi 8. We'll continue to help our members to accelerate the Wi-Fi adoption. And a third one, as you mentioned, Patrick, 6G is a big topic, and the role of AI on that as well. So we that come up from Mobile World Congress, yeah, a lot of AI and 6G on the discussions.
Yeah, that's pretty much AI was the big focus of Mobile World Congress this year. Did you see any other insights that were interesting? I saw some really cool millimeter wave arrays that were able to transmit at multiple frequencies in multiple directions. But other than that, I'm not sure I saw too much new other than the big talk about AI.
Yeah, what I like on AI that I saw is not only about theoretical AI, but we started to see some good real life implementations of AI, and that was super cool. The other one that I started to see more active is on the robotics space. I saw some cool demos, so lots of momentum on that front. Let's see what the future will bring us. But was cool to see some in a few demonstrations on the evolution of robotics.
Yeah, I feel like if you didn't have a robot in your booth, it wasn't cool.
Well, thanks, Tiago, for giving us those insights into your outlook and vision for Wi-Fi, 5G, 6G, and robots, apparently, um, along with keying us into the activities that the Wireless Broadband Alliance is involved with. And to our audience, please give us a like, and we hope that you enjoyed this topic. You can find more podcasts at podcast.microwavejournal.com, and thanks for listening.